In class we talked about the different terms for lettering, and what I'm going to show you in this video is how to draw these letters. We're going to start with our first lettering group, which is straight line letters. You'll notice all these letters are straight. What I want to make sure that you do is you're going to fill in the grid and the 2 blank boxes for each letter. Now this video you're going to watch at home tonight, and you can either start this at home or you can wait till tomorrow in class to start it. But what I really want you to do is just get down the strokes and what they are. You will have class time to finish tomorrow. So we're going to start with our simple letters. So like the letter I is very simple. Remember that all of our letters have a ratio of, most of them have a ratio of 5 to 6. Okay, and if you see the box, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 6 by 6. Most of our letters are 6 units high and 5 units wide. Okay. Some of their letters, like the words in Tom Q. Vaxi, are 6 by 6, and then we have some, like the letter W and the letter I, that don't follow within those. The W is actually 8 units wide, and the letter I we can't even call a unit wide. It's a stroke wide. So when we're doing letters, what we do is we draw down and to the left is typically the way you're going to draw them. So for the letter I, our first stroke is just straight down. It's only one stroke. So you're just going to draw straight down for the letter I. For the letter L, there's 2 strokes. So first what we're going to do is our vertical stroke, and then we're going to do our horizontal stroke. Now keep in mind that the horizontal stroke stops at 5 units. So I'm going to do my vertical stroke, and then I'm going to do my horizontal stroke, and it's going to stop at 5 units. So when you draw a letter L, one thing you want to make sure that you're doing is you're always stopping it a little bit shorter than it is tall. The letter T is part of Tom Q. Vaxi, so it's 6 units wide, 6 units tall. So my first letter is going to be my middle stroke, and my second stroke is going to be the top one. So I'm going to start in the middle. It's dead center of my T. And then I'm going to do my top stroke, my horizontal stroke, which is all the way across. My next letter is the letter F. So my letter F has 3 strokes. So I'm going to start with my vertical stroke. Then I'm going to do my top horizontal stroke and my middle horizontal stroke. When I have 2 strokes like this, what I want to look at is the comparison between the 2. So my top stroke goes out to 5 units, and my middle stroke only goes out to 3 units. So my vertical stroke, my top stroke that goes out to 5 units, and my middle unit that goes out to 3 units. Now I'm not going to get out a ruler and measure to make sure that these are all exactly the same, but what you want to do is compare the 2. Whenever you're drawing, you want to make sure that middle stroke is shorter than the top stroke. So I'm going to go to my letter E. Same thing. I'm going to start the same way as my F. I'm going to have my first stroke as my vertical, my second stroke as my top horizontal, and here's where things change. I'm going to do my bottom stroke as my third, and then my middle stroke as my fourth. So I'm kind of framing my letter, and then I'm going back to the middle. So my bottom E, my vertical stroke for the E, my top stroke for the E, and if you look, it's a little short of 5 units. So my top stroke, my bottom stroke goes all the way out to 5 units, and then my middle stroke goes out to 3. So with the E, the key is to make sure that the top stroke is a little bit shorter than the bottom, and the middle stroke is shorter than the top. My letter H, it's only 5 units wide, but it consists of 3 strokes. So my first stroke is my left vertical, my second stroke is my right vertical, and my third stroke is my horizontal stroke. And if you look, it only goes out to 5 units. So I'm going to go left stroke, right stroke, and then my middle, sorry, that's kind of sloppy, my middle horizontal. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to my letters that have angles in them. When you're doing letters that have angles in them, sometimes it's best to kind of spot where it's going to be. So V is part of Tom Q. Vaxi, so it is 6 units wide. So I know that I'm going to start in the top left corner. I'm going to have one that goes to my top right corner, and if I look here, it ends up in the middle. So I'm going to go to the middle. What I'm going to do is draw from my top left to my bottom right, and my top right to my middle. Okay? So when you're doing these, you always want to stroke down, not up. So my first stroke is here, and my second stroke is there. Okay, these are a little bit harder when they're drawn bigger. Once you get down here and you start drawing them smaller, they get a little bit easier. So the letter A, same thing, it's just an upside down V. So I'm going to kind of put my points so I know where I'm going. My first stroke is my left, my second stroke is my right, and then my third stroke is the middle. But like I said, I'm going down, never go up, so I'm going to go from the midpoint down, and then my middle is 2 units up. The key with the A is that your middle stroke is not centered on your height of your A. It is actually 3 units down. Okay, so it's not centered. That's the key for your A, is to make sure that that horizontal stroke is not centered. All right, my letter M is the letter V with 2 vertical pieces. But I'm going to start with my vertical, 1, my second vertical is my second stroke, and then I do the order of my V. The left is 3rd, the right is 4th. So my first stroke, my second stroke, I'm going to go ahead and put a little dot in the middle. You will be able to stop using that dot once you get used to doing these letters. Use them as long as you need them. And then I create my M. Now my letter N is 3 strokes. My first stroke is my left vertical, second stroke is my right vertical, and my third stroke connects the two. So by doing my verticals first, I have my start and end point for my angle. So I have my left vertical, the right vertical, and I just connect the two. The letter W. So W is just like the I. It doesn't follow the 5 to 6 or 6 to 6 ratio. It is actually 8 to 6. So W has 4 strokes to it, and I'm just going to do them in order that they are on the W. Okay, but what I'm going to do is go ahead and mark where that is. So if I start on my corner, and then it goes over 1, 2 on the bottom. Okay, then it's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that right? 1? Nope, I missed it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I know it's 1, 2 over from the bottom and on the top. And so I'm just going to, remember, always go down. Drawing down is always going to be easier, so your strokes always go down. W is going to be one of the letters that you're going to struggle with. It's going to take you some time to do, but you will be able to figure it out. The more you do it, the easier it'll get. And also, once you get down here and you're drawing it smaller, it's going to be easier. When you draw a letter bigger, it's going to be more sloppy and it's going to be harder to do. All right, letter K. So letter K has 3 strokes. The first stroke is my left vertical. My second stroke is my top angle, and my third stroke is what I call the kickstand of the K. So I'm going to start with my first stroke, my left vertical, and I want you to look at where it all connects and kind of do the same thing. Make yourself some dots if you need to that show you where it connects. So my top of my K goes kind of down. It goes all the way down, 4 units down, and then it goes out a little less than 5. So now I have some points to work from so I can finish in that K. Finish in that top angle. So now the kickstand for the K. One of the important things about the kickstand for the K is that this right here, the kickstand, if I were to continue it, it would meet the top corner of my K right there. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark where the end of my K is. So it's 1 unit over at the bottom. And then I'm going to kind of eyeball from the top corner and just kind of see that angle that comes in, and then when I do that, I'm going to start wherever it crosses from that corner on my K, and I'm going to draw down. Okay, the K is a little bit more complicated because you don't have an exact position to start the kickstand, but it should always line up with that top corner. Alright, the letter X is pretty easy. You've got 2 strokes. I'm going to start with my one that goes from top right to bottom left, and then top left to bottom right. The key with my X is, look at that, it's a little bit shorter on the top than it is the bottom. The bottom goes out 6 units wide. The top is less than that. So I kind of want to start halfway between the first and second grid mark. my letter Y, I have 3 strokes. I'm going to start with my left angle, go to my right angle, and then go to my vertical. So same thing here. My Y, the actual meeting point, is dead center of my 6 by 6 square. So I'm going to go over 3 and down 3, and that's the center. So I know where my angles go. So I'm going to start with my top left to bottom right, bottom right to top, or top right to bottom left, and then straight down. And that's my 3 strokes for the letter Y. The letter Z has 3 strokes in it. So I'm going to start with my top stroke. Then I'm going to do my bottom stroke and then do my angle. And the reason I do that is so that I have a starting point and an end point for that angle. So I'm going to start with my top stroke, and if you look, it's a little shallow of the edge of the box, and it goes out to 5. So I'm going to start a little shallow and go out to 5. My bottom is from the end all the way to 5, and then I can draw in my angle, which that one's a little sloppy. Okay, so the cube of the Z is at the top is a little shorter than the bottom. So what you're doing for your assignment, and I will also give you guys a little bit more pointers tomorrow in class, what you're doing for your assignment is you are writing these words twice in here, okay? So in these guidelines, we've talked about guidelines in class, these guidelines are 1/8 of an inch, I'm writing in the word fill. So I'm going to erase those so I can write it in clean. Alright, so I'm going to write in the word fill. Remember, on my F, my middle is just a little short. Okay? And what I want you working on when you're doing these is making sure that you have your strokes in the right order and that you have your spacing correct between your letters. So like on this one, that spacing is a little wrong, or that the I and the L should be a little bit further apart. You also want to make sure that your letters don't lean, like this L is leaning a little bit, and you also want to make sure that you're not going past your guidelines. But at any point I feel like you just rushed through this and you got really sloppy, I'm going to make you redo it. I'm not going to grade it. Alright, so make sure that you're following through the guidelines, you're taking your time, you're working slow. This is not due when you walk into class tomorrow. This is going to be due at the end of class tomorrow. So you will have class time to fill in all of these blanks and everything down here. And you'll have access to this video in class also. So if you feel like you need to go back and look at it, you can. And also in your packet are all of the strokes that you can look at also. So remember, if you have any questions, don't forget to ask in class tomorrow.